You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and/or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radagast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Solus, and this is episode 88. Is Star Citizen's latest update, 4.0, worth all of the hype? We're going to get into some pretty heavy topics if you're an enthusiastic backer of this program or this project like I am, and a lot of you listeners are. But we're going to be very cool, calm, and collected throughout the process, but very critical of what we're experiencing, and hopefully there being light at the end of the tunnel after this week's announcements and updates. So beyond that, we're going to be getting into the January subscriber perks. We're going to make some pretty interesting predictions for 2955, but we're going to sit the first part of this podcast in this From the Community segment. A lot to catch up from. I mean, December 20th was our last episode. So before the Christmas holidays, before New Year's Eve and New Year's, it's been about 3 weeks since I last spoke to y'all. So I just wanted to connect on the human level real quick. So thanks for allowing me into your place of comfort, whether we're driving or whether we're sitting down. It's good to hear from you, and I mean that sincerely. I obviously appreciated the time away. Again, 3 weeks off, I was able to spend time with the family. Of course, that's super important, most important. But it just feels like I haven't spoken to a good friend in a long time, right? And I see y'all as a collective listener in that way, that you're this really close friend of mine. So I hope this finds you well. I would love to hear how your break went. Sincerely, I would love for you to leave comments and send me an email and show me pictures of all the fun things that you were able to do and accomplish in the last 3 weeks. I think everybody knows that I live in Texas. I live in Austin, Texas. I've got a brother and his family lives in San Antonio, Texas. And then my dad and mom live out of Houston, Texas. But my father is unfortunately in assisted living due to Parkinson's and dementia. So Houston's a little bit of a dynamic. We can't really always plan to be there every single month and every event, so we kind of do these off-cycle travels. I'm sure many of you out there feel the same pains when it comes to holidays. So spent most of our time in both San Antonio and Austin, and it was fun. Like, I guess just quickly, it was a lot of fun going to San Antonio. We went to the JW Marriott. It's like this a resort, really nice hotel, but a resort, mainly because they outfitted the basement of that resort with this massive ice exhibit. And when I say massive, it was like the entire, the movie Grinch. It was the entire Grinch movie carved out of ice. And so my kids went freaking crazy. And if you're from Texas, you don't believe in ice. Ice doesn't exist. That's why in 2020, we ignored COVID and we're perfectly fine. But the ice storm completely took us out, right? Completely destroyed our infrastructure back in 2020. So we don't believe in ice. It doesn't exist. So when we went there, kids went crazy, and it's an amazing, amazing exhibit. So that was a lot of fun. But just the family time, guys. Like, I'm such a family person. I think you know this. After 88 episodes, you know me very well. So it was a lot of fun to go with the kids. My daughter's getting her ears pierced literally this afternoon. Her thing was she wanted to be fancy this Christmas, so we got her some dresses and makeup, kid-appropriate makeup. Now she wants to get her ears pierced. So that's a huge thing if you're a father or a mother of a kid. The body modification is always going to be a tough topic. We wanted to make sure she made that decision herself, and she was old enough to make that decision herself. And it's just kind of cool. 5 years later, she's making that decision. So that's super fun. Family's doing great. We're all in good health. Finally, I think the first week of vacation, I almost died. I had this massive sinus infection that like took me out. It was bad. Headache, couldn't see straight. So that was fun. I'm sure a lot of y'all were also sick. It sounds like this is the time for everybody to get the the crud, right? The cold, the flu, everything else. So I hope you're in good health as well. Let me know how your break went. I am so serious about that. It's not even Star Citizen related. I want to know how you're doing, quite honestly. And Happy New Year. This is the first episode of season 3 of the Beyond the Verse podcast. And Happy New Year. Happy both 2025 and 2955. So I would also love to learn what kind of resolutions that you've made for this year. How are you looking at 2025? What does it mean for you? And where do you see you and your friends and your family going? I am, again, so much more about the community than I am about talking at you about Beyond the Verse and about Star Citizen. So please let me know how it goes. Me personally, and this is not me preaching, it's just my personal approach. I hate resolutions. I do. I get it. Like you need some marks throughout the year of like, hey, I need this. You backwards plan, set goals. I get it. Trust me, I get it. And it's always easy at the beginning of the year to set that goal. But man, I feel like resolutions at the start of the year are made to fail. If you have waited this long to do something, you're probably going to fail at it, right? Like my personal opinion. So if it's getting in shape, if it's starting to work out, if you haven't been doing it before this week, are you really going to start this week? And so for me personally, resolutions aren't really like, I don't know, it's not really a thing, but I do goal setting. Absolutely do goal setting. So as nerdy as this sounds, I'll sit down with my wife, sit down with my kids. What do we want to accomplish, in 2025? And then we'll backwards plan from there. We want to go on X number of vacations. We want to see X number of locations. We want to do this, do that. How are we going to fund it? I'm going to go to CitizenCon this year, regardless of where it's at. So we're going to budget for that. We'll actually hit that in a segment here in a couple minutes. But that's my approach to the new year. So again, I would like to hear what you are doing for this new year. But yeah, this episode, I wanted to touch on like the human side of what I do. This is why I do podcasts. This is why I don't really do streaming. I'm going to start doing it this year. It's going to be fun. We're going to have org nights streaming on Thursday nights. It's going to be fun. 100%. But this is why I like podcasts. I like the conversation, even if it like initially feels one way. The comment section and the emails afterwards, the polls, the Q&A, that makes me feel like this is a very engaging process. Whereas if you're on like a stream or if you're gaming, your attention's not on the community, for what that's worth. So with it being the first episode of January, I do have the December monthly show review to get into. So we're going to get into that. We're going to go through a couple of other like admin, Beyond the Verse, where we're going, things I wanted to celebrate just quickly. And then we'll get, we'll get into the January subscription flare. I think that'll be the start of the contentious part of the podcast. And then we'll wrap up with like where 4.0 was, where it is today, and where it's going to be, hopefully, after today and this weekend. All right, so let's get into it. Come with me. So here is the December monthly show review. It's all over our socials. It's on our website, the beyondtheversehq.com website. I always lead with this. It's transparency. It is kind of a value proposition. So if somebody wanted to promote with me or collaborate with me, they see the value that your community soul provision and your favorite podcast, Beyond the Verse, can bring to the table. So this is why I do it. I think it's important to talk about. It's fun to celebrate, but here's the image to rule them all. So as of December, our podcast has 812 followers, 47.8 thousand plays, 601 plays per episode across 80 countries. That's 80 countries and 6 podcast platforms. And just kind of an admin thing, one of those 6 is other. So kind of all the other third-party, big and small vendors that provide podcasting platforms. So it's like 5+1 or 5+ many. So 6 podcasting platforms at least. Over on YouTube. So YouTube is a fun story. If you've listened to the last couple of episodes, you know that we've partnered. So yay for us. Awesome. We've partnered with YouTube. We've moved our monetization from podcasts, so you don't have to hear advertisements anymore. We moved the monetization over to YouTube. So we'll get into that here in a couple of seconds, but we have 13 members, and that doesn't sound like any sexy number. But even if I had one member, I'm completely happy with that. Again, these are 13 individuals that chose to use their disposable income and truly believe in our mission, whether it's the podcast mission or whether it is Soul Provision, the in-game organization for Star Citizen, and their mission. So I love the 944 subscribers. We are going to hit 1,000 soon. Internal goal, but we'll do that organically. I hate doing things that are not organic. Like, I'm not going to go on some marketing spree. Like, I'm going to let this grow like it has for the last 2 years. 13 members, like I said, 891.4 thousand impressions, 50,000 views, 4.3 thousand watch hours, and across 26 countries. And what's interesting is those don't always overlap. The 80 countries of the podcast and the 26 countries on YouTube, there are some countries that watch on YouTube that don't listen on the podcast. I just think that's statistically interesting, right? Over to Twitter, which I need to change that header to X. They've been X for several months now, if not the full year, so shame on me. But 2.6 thousand followers. Thank you all for following. I love Twitter. That is my social media choice for engagement, polls. It seems like it's still doing well. I know a lot of individuals went over to Blue Sky. That's fine. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I'm in both. So join on whichever platform you want to. But the 2.6 thousand followers, and in December specifically, 248.7 thousand impressions, 7.4% engagement rate, the 4.7 thousand likes, the 800 replies, 600 reposts, good Lord. So that's more about engagement. That's what I do between work and when I am actually traveling, like I was in San Antonio. I will always be checking Twitter, even over Blue Sky for now. TikTok, we hit 1,000 followers. It's awesome. We don't know what's going to happen to TikTok. Again, not getting in politics, but there is a potential of TikTok going away after this month and into the new year. So stand by for that fun news. But 1,000 followers over on TikTok in December specifically, 4.5 thousand video views, 3,000 reach, 33 profile views, 154 likes, 16 comments, and last, Blue Sky. There's not like a business analytics for Blue Sky, and if there is, I just don't know about it. Let me know. Reach out, let me know, ping me, I don't know, whatever you want to do, let me know. But as of right now, I don't see it. So we have 491 followers as of December, and again, I don't see any business analytics as of yet. But again, thank y'all so much for your engagement, for your followership, for really everything that you do for the show. And specifically, I want to get into my 13 members. If you are a member on YouTube, I just want to call out and celebrate you. We do have 2 echelons or 2 levels of support, and I don't see one better than the other. That's not from my point of view. It's like, I'm not going to judge you if you're on the courier supporter level or if you're on the hauler supporter level. Don't care. But basically, one's an entry level. You just want to support, keep the lights on, right? You want to help us fund some of the hardware that goes into producing and post-production. But then there's the extra support that we call the hauler. You can kind of see our theme here. We're going with like cargo hauling. We're going with like delivery mission type levels. But the haulers are for those that want obviously give more, but it also opens you up for a monthly giveaway, which we're going to start here in January. So I'm just going to go through the list real quick. Only first names. I'm not going to dox anybody. That's why I'm not sharing my screen. But Will, Marcus, Ian, Marauder, Flantastic, Tinker Gibbs, Stillwicker, Bravo, Disowned, Bendermender, Nickel, Matt, and Groza. Thank you again so much. And it does. I'm going to say this one last time. It means so much to me that you put out in your day-to-day life. You work, you get paid, you take that disposable income, and it goes places. It feeds you. It provides for your family. and yet you're deciding to put $5 towards what we're doing here. I am humbled if there was only one, but the 13 of you, thank you so much. Sincerely. Okay. New for 2025. There's actually a lot that's new in 2025 for us on the podcast, but I think I want to lead with Extra Life. So in everything I've done, I've always tried to be philanthropic. I've always tried to give back to the community. Again, I don't need this as an income. Maybe one day down the road, I quit Amazon and I do this full time. Like, that'd be a blessing, but it's not my goal. It's not like I'm aiming to monetize it in this way. And I think you appreciate that as a listener and a viewer. It's never going to be about that. But I do want to take an opportunity to give back. And one of the things I've done in the 9 years now of content creation, I've always participated in Extra Life. I was always a member of a team who did Extra Life, and I'll get into what it is here in a second. I'll get into it now. So Extra Life is it's a program. It's in partnership with children's hospitals around, I believe it's around the world. It might just be the US, but around the world, where gamers, streamers will give donations, or they will receive donations and put it towards this program called Extra Life. And it goes directly to a hospital of our choice. So for me, we have the Dell Children's Hospital here in the Texas area. It's massive. It's not just Austin. It's really across the entire state. And that's who I chose to partner with through Extra Life. I've already given money towards it. I started the team. Well, I had one last year. I didn't know it worked this way, but I had it last year in like December, not knowing I needed to renew it again for January or for 2025. And so we have a brand new link. We have a brand new way of giving. But I wanted to show you kind of how to get to it if you are interested in giving to the Dell Children's Hospital mission through Extra Life. And so here's our website. Here's the BeyondTheVerseHQ.com website. You'll notice at the very top here, next to contact, we have give. So if you just highlight over or hover over give, you'll see Extra Life. And when you click on that, you're going to go directly to my personal page. Solus, obviously I'm the team captain for Beyond the Verse. And you just click this box that says donate. Our goal as the Beyond the Verse team is $5,000. I know we can get that in the first 6 months. I know we can get that. So if you find it in your heart and you want to give, and I think it's a tax write-off. I'm pretty sure because you're donating. But if you want to give and you want to participate that for 2025, by all means. You can also become part of our team. So I know like Stillwicker, Groza, Disowned. I know there's a lot of you that stream. And if you want to also become part of this effort, you just go here, click on the Beyond the Verse link, and then join our team. Right? Click here, join our team. And so that way you have your own account. Money is going to you. It's going to funnel up in the overall Beyond the Verse effort and endeavor. But it's a quicker way to hit that 6,000 or the 5,000. You can set your own goal and have your own accomplishments. But our goal so far is 5,000 for the year. I think we can hit 10, 15,000 as a stretch goal easily. But feel free to join. If I click on About, I'm just going to read this to you because I probably didn't do it justice. But if you click on the About and watch this video, first off, I can't do it live. I tried doing it a couple years ago when I was doing the Solus Gaming podcast, and I couldn't get through it without crying. I mean, I'm a father. Like, this kills me. It eats away at who I am. So I can't watch this, but y'all can absolutely take time out of your day, watch this YouTube video. I think it's like 13 minutes, but here's what Extra Life is. So it all started with a little girl in Orange, Texas. Extra Life is a fundraising program of Children's Miracle Network hospitals. The Extra Life community fundraises year-round to change kids' health to change the future. Donations go to a local member hospital to fund critical life-saving treatments and healthcare services, along with innovative research, vital pediatric medical equipment, and child life services. Since its inception in 2008, Extra Life has raised over $130 million to change kids' health, to change the future. Right now, children's hospitals need your support. All right. Every single episode from here on out, I'm going to remind y'all about Extra Life. I'm going to give y'all an update. I might even create an overlay for the podcast where it just has like the ticker at the very bottom that just says our current give amount. I think we monitor this. I think we make this a collective goal. What do you think? I think we can do it. I truly think we can do it. Okay. All right. By the way, we also have a giveaway. We have a Mirai Guardian giveaway that we're going to do at the very end of this episode. So I just saw the website here. Let me go back to share my screen. When we do a giveaway, we have an announcement bar at the very top. We even have a section down here that has like information about the giveaway. I realize it's not there anymore because time expired. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot to say that in my segment preview for the episode. So stand by for that towards the end of the episode. It'll be our little pick-me-up because we're going to end on kind of a bad note. We're going to end on the 4.0 status. So maybe we use that giveaway as a pick-me-up. Okay. All right, here we go. So from the community, specifically, you know this, we go through a poll and a Q&A from the last episode. And again, that was 3 weeks ago. So we had episode 87 on December 20th. And then we dropped a bonus episode last Friday of our murder mystery, the Orgonite murder mystery. It's phenomenal. Go listen to it. Actually, go watch it. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing because we're just standing around the 890 jump, but it's just really funny watching the interactions. Some of the things that actually happen in audio, you can see it reflect in the game, and it's hilarious. It makes it even more funny. But go watch it, go enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Let's get into the poll in the comment section from episode 87. Okay, so we asked at the end of episode 87, where did you choose for your primary residence in 4.0? And I think this is important because they say that this is the last reset. Now, we can debate whether or not there will be another reset given all the problems that 4.0 has. But at this current moment, there's no more resets. So in theory, until like 1.0, I presume, in theory, what you chose going into 4.0 is it. That's it. That's your permanent residence. And so I thought it was a crucial time to really just gauge the community. And there were 15 votes. The winner is Orson. And I asked all of them, Pyro included. So Area 18, Lorville, New Babbage, Orson. Then over in Pyro, you have Checkmate, Obituary, and Ruin Station. No one wanted Ruin Station. I thought that was interesting. And then 2 chose Checkmate, 1 chose Obituary. I thought there would be more Obituary in Pyro just because of Bloom, and Bloom being just a phenomenally beautiful planet. So I was curious. I was interested that Checkmate won from Pyro, but overall Orison won with 7 votes. Then Area 18. Area 18 makes sense to me because it's very easy. It is a very easy starting location. Everything is right there at the hab. So when you log in, you walk right outside of the hab area, and you've got shops. Every shop that you need, you turn the corner and go across the bridge. Everything you need for upgrading your ships and their components. Area 18 makes total sense to me as far as like execution. Lorville got 0, and that's interesting to me because of its like centrality. It's right in the center of Stanton. Now, here's a big question. At some point, you would think that the planets would orbit Stanton, and the planets would orbit Pyro. So right now, if you go into F2, look at your star map, they're static. They have the orbital rings, but it'd be kind of interesting if in February, planets were closer to each other than they were a month before. Like it'd be, or there's a certain moment like in March where they're all aligned, right? They're all aligned, and maybe there's special events and special things that happen whenever planets align. I think that's a very interesting point. But at this current moment, Lorville or Hurston is probably the best location for centrality. You're right in the center. You're not too far away from the Pyro jump point. The Pyro jump point's actually more close to Area 18 or R-Corp. But it's a great location to be if you need to hop around. So it's probably really good for cargo hauling to be in Lorville, but it got 0 votes. And then New Babbage got 1. My assumption with New Babbage is it's probably the sexiest planet in Stanton, and it gets all the new stuff, like all the new life, right? Like the bird and the lion or tiger, whatever the heck we're calling the Merrics and Copians. They get all the new stuff. It's beautiful. The rivers and lakes, the water, like you're not going to get that on Crusader, right? But I also chose Orison. Orison is where it's at for me. It's the lore, it's the canon of Soul Provision and where it was. It's the home of the UEE Navy. So just having that kind of like tie in with the military, I personally just love it. Personally love everything about Orison. I also like the aesthetics. I like being in like a gas cloud. It reminds me of Star Wars, right? Like Cloud City. So it just has that really good space feel. I feel like at times Microtech is almost too Earth-like. And not to completely jump games here, but like one of the most sought after planets in No Man's Sky are Earth-like planets. Why? Why is that? Like you're playing a fantasy game, a sci-fi fantasy game, but you're trying to make it as Earth-like as possible. Specifically about No Man's Sky. It's the most sought after quality of a planet. It has the most resources, the most lush resources. Roger, I get it. Like I get it. But if you're going to choose a base, I don't know. I like the idea of it being pretty science fiction. I want it to feel like I'm playing Star Citizen. So anyways, where did you choose? If you didn't answer the poll, where did you choose your primary residence and why? I would love to learn. All right, I'm going to cough. I'm going to read some comments. Excuse me. This past week I was in Seattle, Washington. And if you travel a lot like I do, there's like this airport crud. Like I never come home healthy. I always come home coughing, throat scratchy. Last night's sleep was horrendous. Mouth breathed. My wife hated me. Probably wants to kill me. That's fine. I probably deserve it after last night. But so let's get into the comments section. Jude writes, I'm glad server meshing is finally here, and hopefully it will bring the much needed stability to the universe of Star Citizen. Also, no more wipes sounds great too. I can finally feel like my efforts aren't always for nothing in the long run. Here's to hoping this stays true. Thanks again for the information. See you in the verse. This is the hardest part about reading comments. Like I never know if responding to it now or when we hit Pyro feedback. Like when's the right time to talk about it? So, I'll go ahead and address like high level. This was a weird rollout. When 4.0 initially released, it was like December 19th, I think. It was right around that episode on December 20th. When it launched, it was damn near perfect. Like the first day or two, it was almost perfect. I remember logging in, I was getting 60 frames per second in Orison, which is insane. Jump points were working just fine. We did our jump on the 22nd, December 22nd. That jump night with Soul Provision was freaking amazing. It was great. And then it just went downhill from there. So for Jude, yeah, it started out very stable. It did bring that stability. I like having each planet on its own server, essentially. It does feel a lot smoother, but we all know that there's many issues now that the game is facing, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. So I do agree with Reputation not being wiped. It gives us purpose to play. It gives us consistency and persistence to play. Right? Like I kind of want to build my cargo hauling up now and not like waste my time. So I'm actually taking my time through cargo hauling when I can get in. I'm taking my time knowing I want to max that out. And then after I max out cargo hauling, I then want to go back and do probably bounty hunting and mercenary, then delivery missions, then everything else, salvaging, etc. So the Reputation is really awesome. At some point we got to when Star Citizen 1.0 drops, it's gonna be a madhouse because you got to raise all your reputation. There's everything else to consider, right? Like there's so many other reputation quest lines that we have to do in order to open up more missions. It's a lot. My mind's like hitting a break right now because now I'm like, well, there's all these other things I need to do. Anyways, it's nice that it all goes somewhere now, right? Like it's nice that it's going towards something that is consistent. But I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure there'll be one more wipe when 1.0, the actual Star Citizen, goes live. I can't imagine you're going to carry over alpha reputation. I don't know if there's any debate there. I think we're all aligned. 1.0 is going to be the last wipe. And it should be. All right, Dakota Riley writes, 4.0 finally being here is a true breath of fresh air. Seeing 20 completely random individuals in different ships at Seraphim was an amazing experience. That trailer really encapsulates what it means to finally be here at this moment after so many years. My theory may have been wrong, but I don't care. I'm happy I was wrong. The Guardian QI... it's like quantum interdiction, if I'm not mistaken, but I've heard she, we're just gonna say the Guardian QI, is the TIE interceptor of my dreams. It absolutely is the TIE fighter, 100% the TIE fighter. The ad is kind of like Taken. I'm gonna be hauling and salvaging a lot in 4.0. Thanks for the win. 2 org winners, 2 cutters. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he won the last giveaway that we had. And then Bravo 1 writes, I have no method to my madness when it comes to exploration. Just going to pick some points and go. When it comes down to what I'm doing with the start of 4.0, just like usual, a little bit of everything so I don't get burnt out quickly. Preach, amen, all the other stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I think this goes back, and again, this is 3-4 weeks ago at this point. I'm pretty sure Bravo 1 was the one that mentioned like exploration's their thing. They want to do this whenever 4.0 finally drops. And my question was like, what does that look like? There's not an exploration loop yet. So how are you, and now I'm asking you, the listener, how are you doing your own exploration loops? Like, are you flying to Bloom, and when you're in orbit, do you just go down to any known location or any unknown location, like you see a lake and you go there? Or do you find a known location and jump to it and then go explore? Like what's the method of that right now? Because exploration doesn't exist as a thing. So I'm just curious. Okay, we do have one more episode to go through. Is the Organite with a murder mystery. There's only one comment. I didn't ask a poll. So the one comment was by Sean. Sean says, can't wait for episode 100. Are you going to do something special with it? Yes. Yes. I don't want to get the cart out in front of the horse on this one. But yes, we're going big. So this is episode 88. We're 11 episodes away from recording the 100th episode. So basically 11 weeks from now, it's going to put us in late February, early March. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's going to be March. March, if not April. Spring break and everything else. I don't know if I want to tease y'all. Nope, I'm not going to say anything. It's going to be fun. On the 50th episode, if y'all recall, I had Conniff on, really good friend of mine. He was on episode 1, so I brought him back for episode 50. Really, really good friend of mine. He hasn't been playing the game lately, so I'll talk to him. I think he's a good, obviously he's a good friend, good source, great person to talk to. But I might be bringing on some heavy hitters. I'll just say that. Cool. Let's get to the Twitter polls. This is going to be a good discussion. This will start bleeding into the 4.0 status update. And again, Twitter polls to the status update to the subscriber flare. I don't know. I'll throw the subscriber flare before the preview, and then we'll end on that giveaway. So here we go. All right, so this is my point. This proves my point. I asked this first question on December 21st. So again, the game drops, or the patch drops, if I'm not mistaken, December 19th. I make my recording on December 20th, and then here I am asking this question on December 21st. So this poll has 2.6 thousand views, 434 votes. It's a significant poll. 400, more than 400 people. So you can't dismiss this. I asked, how is 4.0 treating you so far? And tell us why in the comments. Out of 434 votes, 52.3, over half, said that it was positive. And it's really 69% positive if you also add in strongly positive. So strongly positive, yes, is 17.3. But if you want an optimistic outlook, 69% have a favorable response to this question. That is significant. So it started off well. It started off just fine. We were all extremely happy with it. A couple of days of really good gameplay before it all went to hell. So this poll sets up this conversation perfectly. You see it yourself. You're hearing me talk about it on podcast. It started off on the right foot. So just remember this. Remember this when we get to it. Okay, we're going to completely caveat. Again, these are Twitter polls. So we had CES, right? Consumer Electronics. Well, that's what it is at Amazon. I actually don't know what it stands for, but in Amazon it's the Consumer Electronics CE, but it's the computer tech. It's the computer tech expo that happens every single year. So AMD, NVIDIA, all the brands, MSI, they get together and they have this massive expo of all the things that they're releasing in 2025. And so the Intel dropped. Huge, right? Completely huge. And so leading up to that expo, one of the things I'm doing in 2025, this is before I even saw the CES Expo, before I saw anything else, I knew this year I was going to update my PC. I was rocking like a very old school AMD AM4. So AMD AM4 socket. It was kind of a basic CPU chip that we discovered is like causing me issues in Star Citizen. I have a 4070 Super GPU, but I was bottlenecked because my CPU sucked. And so I'll get screen tearing, screen flickering, and that should not be happening with a 4070 GPU. So long story short, you might know this listening or watching this podcast, but Star Citizen is very, very CPU demanding. Very CPU demanding. I was at maybe 60% usage of my graphics card, but 100% of my CPU. And it was a 2700, right? A 7 series 2700. And I was hitting 100%. I was overutilizing my CPU and still not being able to perform in Star Citizen. Excuse me. So I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I needed to increase my CPU. That's what got this started. Well, if you're going to increase your CPU, you might as well look at everything else just to see if it's the right thing and you're not wasting your money. Well, last year, AMD launched the final 7 series chips, and one of those included a 5700X3D. So this is nerd shit. Bear with me. This might not be your thing as you're listening, but the X3D is huge. If you're going to be a gamer who is content creating, like there's no better chip series than the Suffix X3D. So right now I think it's like a 9800 X3D, and they just announced at CES it's the 9th generation 9950 X3D. It's going to be the chip to rule them all. They claim you don't need a graphics card. I'll believe it when I see it. But they're claiming you don't need a graphics card if you have this CPU in your motherboard. Okay, so you can see where this is kind of starting to spiral downhill, right? So I asked the question, AMD or Intel? Again, prior to CES. I've always rocked AMD, but that's always a point of contention. It's AMD or Intel, like Drake versus Crusader, right? It's like, which is the best chip manufacturer? I'd probably say Origin. Drake or Origin because they're polar opposites. Anyways, I digress. So AMD or Intel, you can assume what I asked, and out of this one's huge, 5.6 thousand views, 733 votes, 80% are AMD. and 20% are Intel. Now that's probably because Intel's been having some really rough years. I think this last 1 or 2 years has been very rough on Intel and their processors having issues, performance needing to repair, etc. Not going to get into the details there, but AMD has been a pretty good fail-safe. But again, the X3D technology, it's 3D caching, it's been a huge game changer. So you see here 80% of 733 votes voted for AMD. You'll see the next couple of polls kind of reflect the same conversation, about the PC upgrades. In fact, while we're here, actually you won't. I'm getting another conversation mixed up. Then the next question kind of leads into our first prediction for this year, for 2025 or 2955, is where do you think CitizenCon 2955 is going to be? There's really no rhyme or reason. If you look at their history, and this is taken from the Star Citizen Wiki from Tools, or Star Citizen Tools. Great followers, love them to death, love the partnership we have with them. But this was taken from their website. And so we look at the last, I don't know, eight years. So in 2024, last year was in Manchester. Before that, Los Angeles. Before that, Manchester. You had 2 years of online because of COVID, but I was corrected, rightfully so. One of those years, it was just canceled. I'm pretty sure 2020, it was just flat out canceled. It wasn't even virtual. So you had a couple of years of online or not existing, and then 2019, Manchester. 2018 was Austin, Texas. And 2017, Frankfurt. So we have a lot of Los Angeles, we have a lot of Manchester, we have one Austin, one Frankfurt. No rhyme or reason, no pattern. So my question was, where do you think it's going to be? I don't know. Like, there's no way to predict this. I personally think it's time for Austin, and that's what won the poll. So 41.1% voted Austin, 30.2% voted Frankfurt, 14.7% voted Manchester, and 14% voted for Los Angeles again. I think it's time for Austin. We have the community management team that's down here, a huge studio presence, obviously. I think it's feasible in a lot of land, a lot of opportunities to have this convention. I can see it being in Austin. I think it's time for Austin. However, a lot of individuals responded to this poll, and they mentioned Montreal. And I thought that was brilliant. I didn't even think about the new studios that are up in Montreal. What a great opportunity to showcase the newest studio. So I honestly believe it's either going to be Austin or it's going to be Montreal. Like Frankfurt, absolutely, I can see that happening too. I think regardless, I probably should get my passport updated for this year. It's been expired for a couple of years now, but I think it's either going to be in my hometown where there's no travel needed. That's going to be a blessing, or my ass will be on an airplane going to another country. I don't see it being in Los Angeles again, personally. So what do you think? Comment section, email. I'm curious. The poll for Spotify will simply just be like, how is 4.0 treating you? So in the comment section, I want to know how the game is treating you right now going into January. But feel free to add your predictions for 2025 in the comment section. Please do. Let's keep going. All right, the next question. Okay, so let's go ahead and start getting into the negative. January 2025 subscription promotions came out on Tuesday, and it's not the sexiest thing, right? Like it's a planter. We'll go through what they are, but it's that planter aesthetic, like things to decorate your hanger with. And so a lot of the community, right, wrong, or indifferent, a lot of the community became a little salty on social media. Like, what are we doing here? A lot of them re-upped their annual subscription in December because Luminalia has this discounted, like a prorated rate or discounted rate for the next year. So a lot of people renewed, and they get hit with this subscription promotion in January. And so I just asked basically, and I try to keep a lot of feelings out of my posts. I like asking the polls because it generates the conversation, but it's really just to get that sentiment. I'll share my sentiment on podcast. So just, I ask, are you going to keep it or not? Are you keeping your subscription or not? So curious. So I'm going to ask this contentious poll. Did you let your subscription expire without the intent to renew? And tell us why in the comments. 1.4 thousand views, 258 votes. 37.6% said that they did have subscriptions and will not renew. 35.3% say they have it and they will renew. 23.3% said that they never had it and will not ever have it. And then 3.9% say never had it but will. And so here's my response to it. Like, I will always be a subscriber, mainly because I feel like I should. As a podcaster, as a content creator, 4-star citizen, I need to be able to see and evaluate and analyze everything. So I would like to see the jump points and read the jump points and share anecdotes out of those, and that requires a subscription. Sometimes there are ships that I'm not going to buy with my real money, so I would like to test those. And as a subscriber, you get access to those brand new ships. So I think there's a reason. I think there's a reason for me to do it. Now, if I was not a podcaster and if I was not content creating, I don't know if I would, guys. I don't know if it's worth it. Now, there's a resounding sentiment in the comment section that they're doing it because they're supporting the game, right? They believe in the project. They believe in the project. They want to give money towards it without spending $3,000 on a Javelin. Okay, I get it. I totally get it. For what it's worth, your subscription money isn't really doing anything, right? Like, if you're a Centurion and you're spending $10 a month is not moving the needle for this massive project that's requiring billions and billions of funding. I mean, it's something. It's not nothing, but it's so insignificant when we're talking about the overall income. Now, I don't have access to their P&L, right? Their profitability and loss statement. I don't have access to that. There's no way I'm going to be able to see a line item and say, well, this percent of their funding is from subscriptions. We don't have access to that, so I could be completely wrong at a full transparency. I just don't see how $10 a month, if you're a Centurion, is really helping. But you do you. I mean, I'm not going to judge you. No, I don't think anybody's going to judge you. But you do you. If you want to spend money that way, by all means. I'm just telling you, if I was not a podcaster, not a content creator for Star Citizen, wouldn't. I would save that money. It's about, if you do $10 a month, it's $120 or double that, $240 if you're an Imperator, if you're an Imperator subscriber. That's a lot of money. That $240 goes towards like half of a ship. So, I mean, you're missing out on a ship if that's like a thing for you. So, I don't know. I've been thinking about that for quite some time, really since the potted plants from 2023. Nope. Either 23 or 24. The potted plants one really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I don't care about that at all whatsoever. I think it's cute. I think the little smiley faces and design are fine, whatever. But I think I'd rather spend UEC in game and buy decorations like that for my hanger. January didn't help. So let's just go straight. I don't know. Let's go straight into January, because that's actually the end of our polls. January. Freaking this is it. January. This is it. A huge ass vase. Can you put anything in it? Can you carry it? Like, I don't know, but it's huge. Like, for scale, the chair over here on your right obviously is for a person to sit in. So you're sitting in the chair. The vase is going to be bigger than you are. And you have a potted tree? A potted tree, maybe? Like, I wouldn't call that a plant. Bush? I don't know, whatever the hell you'd call this. We'll get into what they call it. But, like, this is it, right? Here are the aesthetics. You have a chair, which they have many, many, many chairs that they were giving out as subscription flair in this last year. Here's another one. And it kind of has a bar stool aesthetic. This is why I asked the question. Does this matter to you? you as a listener, you as a viewer, does this subscription promotions matter to you? Tell us why in the comment section. But let's get into it. Here we go. Happy New Year. We're kicking off the new year with ships to help you survive the dangers of Pyro. All subscribers can tackle treacherous cargo runs in the legendary RSI constellation Taurus, which is a phenomenal subship, I mean, honestly, while Imperator subs can take down outlaws and more in the heavy-hitting constellation Andromeda. So 2 Connies, 1 Taurus, 1 Andromeda. And the Aquila variants as well. So the Aquila one is super sexy. It's their exploration model. However, it replaces the top turret for radar. So you're losing some firepower. But I had the Aquila before I had the Phoenix. And now I have the Phoenix Emerald. And of course, I love the Phoenix Emerald. It's luxury with all the firepower. But the Aquila is nice for, an exploration variant. But the Taurus is absolutely your cargo hauler. Your Andromeda is your military version, by all means. Those are your 2 heavy hitters. And then the Aquila, have at it, have fun. The first flare of this year is a collection of classy interior decor to help you spruce up your ship or hangar for the new year. Here we go. Yeah, so they're calling it a potted plant. The Sand Nomad Plant Pot. Inspired by traditional sand nomad pottery, the desert hues of this plant pot are evocative of the immense dunes of Layer 3. Cool. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but there you go. It's a freaking plant. All right, the bronze Maya vase. With subtle etched patterns and a brushed bronze finish, this artisanal vase emulates the original Maya vases used to store water during the planet's dry seasons. There's your Imperator level. It's a vase. Cool story. And then you've got the Baltazar stool. Popularized by famed furniture designer Aldian Baltazar, the iconic Baltazar stool has seen little iteration in its design since its inception 50 years ago. And you can spend money for this. All right, then you got the Nomad Decor Pack. Good lord. The Nomad Decor Pack. It's got all those 3 in it. Let's talk pricing. We already talked ships. Let's talk pricing. Where is the pricing? Guys, they usually have what each item costs inside of the subscription store. And you know what they might do? So that's funny. They actually might. I just haven't renewed my subscription yet. So my annual subscription ended in December, but it ended when I was on vacation in San Antonio. And so that might be it. I don't even think I have access to the shop. Let's just do this real time. Yeah, that's why. Because here in shop, you should see, become a subscriber. This would be subscription store. And you'd be able to select that. So can't talk price to you. This is exactly my point, though. Exactly my point. If I'm going to be a podcaster and a content creator, if I can't tell you the cost of something, those are questions you may have. So this is why I have to be a subscriber. All right, so here we go. A 12-month insurance for the Constellation Andromeda, which is $240. Constellation Aquila is, well, there you go. Hold on. There's the perfect example of the Constellation Andromeda. That is the cost of 1 year subscription if you're Imperator. So you could be either an owner of the Andromeda, or you could be a subscriber for an entire year as an Imperator, and that $240 would go towards the ship. $315 for the Aquila, and $200 for the Taurus. And honestly, I know a lot of people who fly the Taurus. That is their cargo hauler choice before having to get into something bigger, obviously. So, what are y'all's thoughts? Before we get into 4.0 and how it's made everybody feel, what are your thoughts on the subscription? Again, more shit to put in the comment section, but does it matter to you, or do you just, I don't know, is it just a thing for you? Is it just a thing that you do spend money on and you don't think twice about it, or you've stopped? I would love to hear y'all's reactions to that. 4.0. Oh boy. Okay, so I've already kind of introduced my feelings about how it launched. I think it launched and one of the best patch releases that we've seen. Definitely not 3.18 bad. Obviously, it's not as good as some of the dot patches like 19, 20, 21. Because that's just small. Those are small additions, still coming out with errors, but they're small, right? 4.0 is this massive update that changes the infrastructure of how Star Citizen operates, and yet it did so almost flawlessly when it first launched. Again, for 2 or 3 days, me and my 300 people in sole provision, we were singing its praises. This is awesome. We love this. Getting in was super easy. At the time, they had the hangar spawning, so going into Orison, you would log into the game. Go into Orison, you would log into the hangar, already there. I actually decorated my hangar for once, because things are going to persist. No more wipes. But it was fun. It was a really good experience. And then something happened. I have a feeling I know what happened, but the resetting of shards, the recycling of shards, the going in and out, and the actual streaming or the server meshing of those shards and of the servers, I think it just got messy over time. Started out very clean, but as you go in and out, create new, recycle shards, I just think that is where people started seeing a lot of the issues. Total prediction. We don't have any after action review yet. In fact, you're going to see the only 2 articles that have come out since 4.0 dropped. And I'm going to show it to you. We're going to read through it together. But there's nothing that... There's no really explanation. Here's the why. Here's the why. That they get close to it. They get close and they kind of skirt by the issues, like the global lag issues, missions not counting, hangar spawning being an issue. They kind of flirt with telling us what happened, but there's not a true cause and effect, right? There's not a COE that's been written on 4.0 just yet. So bear with me as we go through these articles. The main purpose of the poll in the Q&A section in Spotify, and of course over on YouTube, will be, what is your current experience like in 4.0? Because I have that poll from when it first dropped where 70%, 80% we're happy with it. I think it was 70%, 69%. Well, we're not there anymore. we're not there anymore. I haven't played Star Citizen in a couple of days, other than to go in to check if I still have a 60K and can't log into the game. And once that happens, I go back to Red Dead Redemption 2 Online or Path of Exile 2. So I haven't really been in game for the last couple of days. I would like to know where we're currently at. The hot fix, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the hotfix 4.0.1 for the PTU was supposed to have dropped on Thursday night, last night, and it didn't. Issues came up, so they're pushing it to today. That's why I've been saying hopefully we'll see light at the end of the tunnel, either today or over the weekend. Okay, let's just go straight into the preview status update. So this was December 23rd. So you can see how quick the shards deteriorated. So patch launches December 19th. I make the podcast on December 20th. The poll gets asked on the 21st, where 69% are saying it's a positive experience. And then here we are on the 23rd, where this comes out. Let's just read it straight. The 4.0 preview status update. Hello, everyone. We wanted to provide a small update before we get too far into the winter break, so we're starting this thread and we'll be periodically dropping additional information here as it becomes available. As many of you have noticed, the 4.0 preview environment has experienced numerous issues, some of which have been cleared up and some that have not. Since opening the environment, our teams have been keeping an eye on how things are progressing to ensure we tackle emergent issues to the best of our ability. While we aim to have a more in-depth breakdown after the holiday, here is the brief list of some of the significant issues that have had corrective action taken so far. Global lag. Once players were jumping into the live scaled environment, we discovered that some aspects of typical player behavior were spamming the infrastructure more than expected. A series of hotfixes were deployed to reduce these systems' impact, resulting in improved interactions, responsiveness, and faster login queue times. what I think of when I read global lag and what they were saying about typical player behavior, it's like going up to an elevator and tapping like F, like F, 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 F. Like you just sit there and tap it until it says, it's coming to your hangar, it's coming to the lobby. Like that behavior, all of those times that you spam the F key or you click your mouse, or really if you do anything, you're making a call to an action, the action to, I guess it's an action to call to the server, and then backwards. The server calls, good Lord, the server actions gets called back to you. And that little path, right, is what creates the bottleneck when just you're sitting there spamming, right? I think that's what they're talking about. Missions. Next up, the mission service encountered degraded performance after players had been engaging in missions post-launch. After the source of the issue was identified, another corrective hotfix has applied. I am of the belief that they didn't find the whole source of the issue because missions are still broken. A perfect example is like cargo hauling. This is a very small example, but it's the one that I saw most often. So you would pull a cargo hauling mission where you'd put the boxes on your ship from Seraphim Station. So you go to Seraphim Station, or you're already at Seraphim Station, and you go to the freight elevator and you say, all right, call up all 94 SCU of carbon or whatever, right? All right, so sometimes it wouldn't even register. It would pull up the boxes, but it wouldn't register that those are quest items. So you'd put them on your ship, you'd fly it out, you'd turn it in, but you weren't getting credit for it because they weren't mission credited cargo. So there was like a delay, or there was something happening with the cargo coming out of the freight elevator, and it wouldn't count towards your counter on the top right, the mission tracker. But then that seemed to have gotten fixed. But the next problem was the other half of that coin. You would take them off the freight elevator, put them into your ship and fly, and you would see, you'd have credit for having those items gridlocked into your ship. But the moment you tried to turn them in, you put them on the freight elevator, doing your due diligence, making sure they snapped onto the grid of the freight elevator. And then when you would send them down, they just wouldn't register, or it would be a partial register of the items. So let's say it was a direct cargo hauling mission, and all 94 was having to go from Seraphim Station to Orison. Well, it sucks when 72 of the SCUs were counting, and you're looking at the other 22, you're looking at what makes it 94, and it just wouldn't register on the freight elevator. So like that was the most common issue at first. And then you can kind of fast forward, and there are some planetary freight elevators that just wouldn't open. You couldn't access. So if you had to go turn in or draw cargo from a freight elevator on planet side, that was a whole nother issue where you'd go to the kiosk, hit F, and it wouldn't even bring up the inventory. I don't know. I don't know if and that's still as of like last week. So I don't think they found all of the source of the issue. There's still plenty of issues there. All right, moving on. Hangar spawn. It was discovered that the very recent change to allow players to spawn directly into the hangar has had some unintended reduction in overall performance of the back-end infrastructure. Spawning directly in the hangar has been temporarily disabled so we can monitor the environment without this added load and ensure that this is the only cause of this issue. I think for me, we already talked about what that was. My issue with the hangars were always the hangar doors. So you would call ATC to ask permission to leave, and it would say you're 5 in queue. And so you'd sit there and you'd wait, 4 in queue, 3 in queue, 2 in queue, 1 in queue, and then you get everything ready and you're ready to take off. And you could hear the doors open, and you can see the doors open, but as the doors were opening, there was like another layer of doors that remained shut. And so you could see that it was trying, you could see that it was like, you could see that they were opening, and if you made the mistake of saying like, F it, I'm gonna go test my luck, I see it kind of opening up, so I'm going to go fly through it. Well, you would fly into the secondary door, and you would be stuck there, and then it would be, you get a message like having to relocate, or heaven forbid your screen goes black. And that's a whole nother wave of issues, right? You have this black screen, and you're like, did it blow up my computer? Because you don't see anything. You don't see anything on this black screen. But there's a hidden button. Like if you move your mouse around enough, you can't see your mouse. You can't see where the cursor is or the button to push is. You can finally find where the blue button is that you need to click on, and that's how you get out of the black screen. If you close the game down during the black screen, you're done. You're done. Like you're kind of in my shoes right now, where you're 60K locked. And there's a 60K hard lock and a 60K soft lock. Not to bore you on what the differences of those are, but with a soft lock, you can do a character reset or a character repair that sometimes fixes it, but you have to log out of everything to include your Spectrum account. And there's just layers, right? Like this should not be happening. It should not be happening 12 years into the game's production. That's not a comment about it taking long. It's just we should have fixes in place for 60Ks like this. And it shouldn't take 2 or 3 weeks. Yes, they've been on vacation, a well-deserved vacation. That is not a comment of them not working as hard as they can. But we were on vacation too. And gamers, especially students and like adults who have kids and everything, like we don't necessarily get to play a lot. Like it's not like I can play this game every single day. I have work, I have kids stuff. Like for instance, Friday, like after this, I go to work. When I get off of work, I'm taking my daughter to get her ears pierced, getting my ears pierced too. So hello there. There's a surprise for the podcast. But then it's pizza night. We're gonna watch some movies. Kids want to watch Pokemon, so we're gonna watch some movies. Like this was my time to play. Like this was my time to play as well. And so a lot of gamers, regardless of their understanding, regardless of their patience for CIG taking 12 years, and like I think we're beyond that at this point. I think most of us are beyond it taking 12 years. This was the one time, the 3 weeks or 2 weeks that most young gamers could play without any sort of like obligation. So when you get black screens and you're having to find a blue button on the back end, and you're having to research Spectrum to find a secondary or tertiary solution, this is why people get so pissed at this game. I don't think I've ever, in 88 episodes, I don't think I've ever told you that you were wrong. You're right in the way you feel. You're right in the way that this game makes you feel. 100%. There are times when I freaking hate going through it. I have 30 minutes to play. I know I want to do X, Y, Z, and I can't get into the damn game. Like, I feel you. I'm right there with you. I think the difference, and you know where I'm going with this, I think the difference is mature people don't punch their game chairs. We get it. We take a breath and we go play Cyberpunk 2077. Not a big deal, guys. Hopefully this gets fixed today. Hopefully it gets fixed over the weekend and we can sing Kumbaya. Let's just keep going. So there was an update to this article on the 26th, day after Christmas. So you got to give them some credit here. Day after Christmas, we begun rolling out a hotfix to mitigate the leading hybrid crash. This should greatly reduce the chances of encountering a black screen. We just talked about that. And then January 4th, so 6 days ago, corrective action was taken against accounts known to be in a shard-locked state. That's me. In addition, hotfixes have been applied to greatly reduce the risk of accounts entering into the state. So again, I'll say this one more time. The past 6 days I've been in Seattle, Washington, so I haven't been able to really test to see if my account is no longer shard locked. This could have solved it. We could be in a perfect state, and even more reason that I want to know what your experience is the day that you listen to this podcast. Are we in a good state or a bad state? All right, let's just keep going. So there's article number 1 that was updated in real time. Then you have article number 2. This is specific to shard locking accounts, error code 60K or the 60030 code. This is the thumbnail image of this episode. I chose it. I chose a screenshot that I took myself of my own experience. So this hits home for my current playing experience. So good old Xylo, good old Tyler Whitkin, head of community. Here we go. Happy New Year, everyone. Just a quick note to share some updates. Today, the team rolled out a corrective script to repair many accounts affected by a variant of the shard locked issue, commonly seen as error code 60030. With this rollout, a large number of accounts have been restored through a repair and cleanup process and should now be able to play. This, along with a few recently deployed fixes, should help prevent additional accounts from encountering this one too. We're also continuing to work on resolving other variants of this issue that are still affecting others, as well as addressing various gameplay-related issues in the 4.0 preview environment. The team is back and focused on getting things in good shape as quickly as possible. We appreciate your patience and support, and we'll keep you updated as we have more to share. Yours truly, with love, Xylo. And that leads into the intent for yesterday. There was a 4.0.1 hotfix on the PTU channel, so we'll have 3 builds. Well, the 324.3 live, the 4.0 preview, and now the 4.0.1 PTU. So we'll have the fixes that go in hopefully today because it was delayed by a day. We'll test it over the weekend, and maybe this time next week, or this next podcast, we'll be singing its praises like we were last episode. It's my hope. Is it going to happen? Who freaking knows? How about we give some items away? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a free Mirai. I think it's Mirai. A free Mirai Guardian with LTI. And the digital download for Star Citizen. This was CIG's offering to me to give to you as a 4.0 giveaway in celebration of 4.0. This has been going on for about 3 weeks now, ever since it dropped. I was going to announce the winner last episode, or at least last week, but we chose to drop the Org Night episode of the Murder Mystery instead. So here we go. You got an additional week to apply, and there are 208 entries. 208 individuals answered my questions. More importantly, answered what has 2024 meant to you as a backer to Star Citizen. What are the highlights, favorite memories, etc. And again, if you don't already know this, if it's a CIG backed giveaway, I remove all information that can dox you, but I take this and I send it back to CIG, so they just have these anecdotes to use as they see fit. So what you contribute to the giveaway is what the CIG staff will also see themselves. So as always, I don't want to exclude anybody, not even the leaders in sole provision. So I go through this process very painstakingly. You're seeing it done real time. So there's no favoritism or bias or any of that BS. So here we go. We use the random equation. We say random. It generates a random integer or a random number. We're going to bring it all the way down, but every time I edit the cell, it changes the randomization. So I have to copy it, paste it, and paste as a value. Now that is static now. Anything I do to this column will not change. So I filter by place. Boopity boop boop. Now I'm going to go largest to smallest. And our winner is No Dev. No DEV. Alrighty. He was our 193rd, or they were our 193rd entry. They heard about us on X, or our Twitter account, in the response to what in 2024 meant to you as a backer to Star Citizen. Lots of up and downs, but we made quite some progress. I agree. So I will send you a note. No dev. Congratulations on your win. Thank you everybody for hanging out for this hour of this podcast. Maybe a shorter episode, not a lot of news to get through. I think this was more just catching up. And I hope the more personal side of the podcast finds you well. If you want to become part of the conversation, if you want to know more or learn more about Beyond the Verse, if you want to give to our Extra Life efforts, really any and everything, you're going to go to www.beyondtheversehq.com. And that is everything. You can find everything you need to know there. It even links to Soul Provision. So if you're interested in joining our in-game organization, Soul Provision, you can do so at the same website or www.soulprovision.com. All the links to join our Spectrum, to join our Discord, are all in that page. Don't forget to give to Extra Life, guys. It's not about me. It's about the kids, right? It's a special place in my heart. It's probably a special place in your heart. I hope this finds you well. Safe travels as you traverse Beyond the Verse. Happy 2025. Happy 2955. I hope this finds you well.